Yes, it's positive.
Despite the obstacles, the DEA got the plane. On this field alone, there are 26 aircraft the DEA has seized. But now the very success of this strategy is causing problems for Don Ferrone, because by disrupting the traffickers' operation, the DEA also disrupts the flow of drug money.
We've got to keep the operational tempo up. If we were to follow on with more operations like this, we could choke things down. But we're meeting with a lot of opposition right now.
What's the opposition amount to?
Well, the opposition is a combination of traffickers and politicians.
So you're being blocked, right?
At this stage of the game, I'd have to say we're being blocked.
That's rather frustrating.
It's very frustrating. For years, this has been a wide open area, basically without the rule of law. And so there are people that one day will fly a cattle rancher and the next day they'll fly a load of cocaine. And they're very much afraid.
And is this also where American and Bolivian interests come up against one another? So much of the economy in Bolivia depends now on coca and cocaine?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think it's, as we get into it, we find that it's much deeper woven into the fabric than we initially envisioned.
The Bolivian president. All of the planes that have been grounded have been used for carrying cocaine. Is that reason to ground airplanes?
What has to remain clear is that we are not for drug trafficking, but we need well-studied and well-founded regulations to fundamentally respect the rights of citizens.
What does that mean?
For example, a pilot's right to work. He owns a plane, and then for whatever the reason, they find some trace of drugs, and his plane gets confiscated. He'll lose his possibility of earning a living and his means of livelihood.
Why should he fly a plane carrying cocaine in the first place?
The drug test is sometimes for small samples of drugs the passenger carried or consumed on the plane. This is not a sufficient reason to leave the pilot without his plane until a criminal investigation is completed.
I think you're saying something else. I think you're saying that a really aggressive anti-cocaine campaign gets in the way of the Bolivian economy. Is that possible?
If it's a bad campaign.
What's a bad campaign?
For example, if people don't take into consideration the reality of the country.
This is the reality of Bolivia. Coca is everywhere. Bolivia earns as much from the drug trade as from all its legal exports combined. All of life here is touched by the money coca generates, which means that truly shutting down the drug trade would cause the Bolivian economy to collapse. Do you think Bolivians are glad to have the DEA, the CIA, the Army, the Navy, and the Border Patrol here?
I think Bolivians would probably prefer to, just like we would prefer to have a quiet life, not be involved in some of these things. But the world is not necessarily one that we can control.
How much power does the American ambassador have here? Somebody once described you as a viceroy, as the British viceroy in India when it was still a colony.
Oh, I think that's exaggerated. We have excellent relationships with the Bolivians. We have excellent access. We communicate very well and effectively together. There's no doubt in my mind that they know what our goals and our policies are here.
And if you want a guy out, he's out.
Depends on the guy.
If you say that
depends on how hard we want to go to war.
Say that a guy in the process is corrupt, whether he's in the police or he's in the military or he's in the government apparatus, you want him out, he goes, right?
But I think the key here is, why do we want him out if we want him out?
Does the American ambassador in Bolivia have the power to make or break police officers, military officers, even politicians?
Without a doubt.
Does this mean that if the U.S. ambassador doesn't like a man you've appointed to government, he can ask you to get rid of him?
En la práctica ocurre
Yes,
así.
in practice it works that way.
En la práctica
In
ocurre
practice
así.
it works that way.
Mr. President, this is it's a very honest admission. It must be very frustrating for you as the president of your country to give another country that much power.
Bueno, no sé si es
Well, I
frustrante,
don't know.
pero en todo
It
caso
is frustrating.
es
At
una
any rate, it's a
realidad
sobering reality.
golpeante,
That is the
lo
least that can
menos
be
que se
said.
puede decir.
It is a reality.
Pero es una realidad.
There is a threshold to Bolivian tolerance for American domination, no matter how much the U.S. is prepared to pay for the privilege. The U.S. show of force is being felt throughout the country, and there are signs it may have begun to backfire. In the long run, by exercising such a heavy hand in Bolivia, the United States may lose the best ally it has in the war on drugs.
If you suffer from an inflamed, itchy rash caused by eczema, psoriasis, or other skin irritations, you can get the relief medication formerly available only by doctor's prescription. It's the medicine in maximum strength cortisone 10. Look, cortisone 10 applied to this itchy rash gets under the itch for soothing relief and help in healing. See? The rash is gone. To relieve itchy rashes and skin irritations, use maximum strength cortisone 10 with the medicine doctors recommend most. Available without prescription.
Lots of credit cards will give you a cash advance, but there could be a catch. Interest charges. Some credit cards charge them from day one, which is why you should use the Discover card. Pay your full monthly balance and a small transaction fee, and we'll give you a cash advance interest-free. How does that grab you? It pays to Discover.
Introducing a different air freshener, new Glade Nature's Collection.
Give me fresh, give me clean, give me Nature's Collection.
Glade's collection of nature's freshest fragrances in a spray and a carpet deodorizer. It's different, never heavy, always light to freshen any room.
So fresh, so light, give me fruit, give me green, give me Nature's Collection.
New Glade Nature's Collection from SC Johnson Wax.
Nature's Collection, yeah.
MCI's Friends Around the World has been the lowest priced international call you can make to any one number to over 200 places around the world. Now MCI announces an extra 20% savings to 2 numbers. They'll be the lowest priced international calls you can make. Call MCI. Over the years, using us to call outside the country could save you hundreds upon hundreds of dollars.
West champion Niners have announced the return to action of Joe Montana. They'll meet Detroit tonight on the Monday Night Football season finale.
Tuesday, it's True Confessions.
You spend the whole night in your room. I'm not stupid. You think I'd do it with you 20 feet away? You could do it real quiet without us knowing about it. Really? You can.
Roseanne. Then, Jackie does Arsenio.
Catch the show last night? We had a little tiny problem with the show. We hated it. Not enough me, huh?
Jackie Thomas after Roseanne, Tuesday.
To report this story, ABC News made 4 trips to Bolivia over the course of a year and a half, and we witnessed the entire scope of the American anti-drug effort there. What impressed us more than anything else was the dedication of the agents on the ground in the face of tremendous obstacles. Given an impossible number of small targets, Don Ferrone has decided to concentrate on mounting large-scale operations aimed at taking down entire organizations. Ferrone believes this is his only hope of turning the tide in America's favor. We were there during one of the largest missions the DEA has ever launched in South America.
Ya, perfecto, perfecto.
Perfect, perfect. And the other people, do you think that they're over there?
The mission began with information provided by this informant, a sometime trafficker himself, talking to his radio contact in the town of San Borja.
Yeah, perfect. Then he should be in the big town where I told you he had gone.
He wore a disguise because cooperation with U.S. agents could get him killed.
Now, we should be really careful when we arrest him. We should be careful of the Colombian group that is stronger and is operating around here.
This operation has been okayed by the powers that be, and I want to make certain that every step of the way that we have all the key players in. The problem is that the rainy season's coming on, and we're going to have to make a move here. We cannot,
the informant told the DEA about several high-level Colombian traffickers who'd virtually taken over San Borja, and Ferron had worked for months to assemble helicopters, intelligence, manpower, and Bolivian government permission, everything he needed to mount a major assault on a Bolivian town.
We still have to pull this off in a schedule here.
48 hours before the mission began, with everything ready to go, Ferron learned the Colombians had disappeared from San Borja. An operation that took months to plan fell apart.
What we're looking at now, Don, is 20 minutes of risk, real intense risk for the 18 to 25 people.
With his troops assembled, helicopters standing by, and in danger of losing hard-won Bolivian government cooperation, Ferron faced a tough decision: pack up and go home, or pick a new objective. The DEA decided to make a last-minute switch. They knew of another town, San Joaquin, which was also under traffickers' control. It would become their new target.
3 arrest targets in 3 of the houses that will be seized.
Special Agent George Auflick was given only 48 hours to make the switch from San Borja to San Joaquin.
It's a great target. One of these guys, Lima Lobo, Cain Daza, Danilo,
Algunas de estas buenas.
In San Joaquin, you have 3 Bolivian traffickers. Who are they, and how important?
Well, the San Joaquin traffickers are very, very important. You have the town boss, who's called Cain Daza, who's known by, his name is Cain Daza. He is extremely important, and what happens in Bolivia, especially out here in the Beni, these small towns basically support Colombian and Bolivian, high-level Bolivian traffickers, and they create an atmosphere where you can come in and out. You can get protection, you can get aircraft, you can get refueled, you can get whatever you want.
The other 2 traffickers Ferron was after were a Bolivian named Limo Lobo and Danilo, a Colombian at the top of the DEA's list. Are you in danger in this operation?
Absolutely. I think every law enforcement operation carries risk with it. This particular one carries, I would say, relatively high risk because we're dealing with Colombians. Colombians and Brazilians, in particular, seem to be more apt to shoot in this country.
An even greater danger was that the DEA would come under attack from a corrupt garrison of the Bolivian army that the traffickers paid off for protection. Getting control of the renegade garrison was crucial to the DEA, and so they arranged for this officer, Army Colonel Eduardo Toro, to be flown from the Bolivian capital La Paz with sealed orders. Because Ferron was so afraid of a leak, Colonel Toro was not told where he was going until we were airborne.
Yeah, he said he's inspected that garrison a bunch of times, and they've not been under control.
The letter contained orders from the Bolivian Army High Command confining the corrupt garrison to base for the duration of the DEA raid on San Joaquin.
The intelligence information we've received indicates that there has been collaboration with the traffickers, that they are currently working with certain elements, the town boss in particular.
Collaboration between the Army and the barracks in San Joaquin and the drug traffickers?
That's correct.
What does that say for tomorrow morning's mission?
It increases the risk factor dramatically.
I've got to insert the colonel sufficient time to get control, but not to get a leak.
Right.
And that's the trick. That's the real trick here, because if I get them in too long, there will be a leak. Because I've done it before in that village. If I do it too late, then they won't have time to get control of these guys, and we'll have people out that might start shooting at us.
Here's Ferron's plan. This advance squad would infiltrate San Joaquin just before dawn to surprise the traffickers in their beds. The main force would arrive by air moments later to provide backup and neutralize the garrison. The advance squad was dropped 11 miles outside San Joaquin, so no one in town could hear their helicopters. Ahead of them was an all-night walk through the jungle. Until the main force arrived, they would be on their own. At 3 a.m., back at mission headquarters, the main force gathered for a final intelligence briefing, amid rumors that something may have happened to put the new operation and the advance squad in jeopardy.
In the last 24 hours before the mission, you have been very worried about a leak.
Yes, that's a fair statement.
And
we have received information from a source that a leak has occurred. We can't substantiate that. It's one source, but it is troublesome. It listed San Joaquin as the target, but did that spook our people, and did they get the word in that town? Are our targets still in that town?
No. 120 ground troops, 14 helicopters, nearly every DEA aircraft in the country. Ferron was now gambling nearly every asset he had for the taking of San Joaquin, an operation that hadn't even existed 3 days earlier. As the main force approached, the advance squad already on the ground in San Joaquin hit their first targets. The moment Ferron touched down, he and Colonel Toro took off towards the corrupt army base to shut it down before it could attack the DEA-led forces.
He sido llamado por el comandante general del ejército y he recibido un memorándum.
The garrison commander, caught out of uniform, listened as Colonel Toro read from his orders. Orders drafted by the U.S. Embassy in La Paz and signed by the commanding general of the Bolivian army.
En voz alta para que nosotros sepamos su contenido, porque hasta el momento.
Señor Teniente Coronel Iberanzana Palacios.
My dear Colonel Palacios, by means of this document, I would wish to inform you that in the coming days in the jurisdiction of San Joaquin, elements comprised of the Special Forces for the fight against drug traffickers and the DEA will carry out operations against drug traffickers, and therefore you will carry out the following instructions. All of the members of your unit will remain in the barracks during the entire operation and will avoid contact with the civilian population. No member of your unit is authorized to participate in the operation. Upon completion of the mission, you will make the appropriate report to this command. In the hands of the all-powerful, signed, Comandante General.
45 minutes.
And everybody was in their beds, apparently.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise.
Yeah.
By 9 a.m., the army barracks was no longer a threat, and the town of San Joaquin was under government control. More than 40 people had been arrested, including Eduardo Guzman, who the DEA said was one of the town's top traffickers. They also got this man, who the DEA claimed was an assassin working for the Colombians.
I was hiding because the abuse of when they come.
And Limo Lobo, one of the DEA's 3 main targets. Slipping through the net was the DEA's #2 target, Kaindaza, the town boss.
Where is your husband now?
I don't know. He left yesterday. He hasn't come back. So as soon as I get in touch with him or he calls me, I'll tell him to come back to clear everything up.
Why did he leave yesterday?
He said he was going to the countryside. I don't know.
The mission's primary target, the Colombian Danilo, also eluded the DEA.
What did they say when you came in?
I asked him where her husband was since he left at 4 o'clock. And we heard you guys were coming. We didn't know when.
They'd heard that you were coming?
Yeah, they didn't know when.
The surprise wasn't very good. Somehow or another, I don't know what means they use. They find out. They know when you're coming. They know when you're passing through. They know how you're doing everything.
Here in San Joaquin, the DEA's worst fear was realized, again. Like so many times before, a major mission was compromised.
When there was a leak from here in Trinidad that you were going to strike on a particular day at a particular time, were you surprised?
No. Disappointed, mad, sad, but not surprised.
That's a tough environment to operate in.
Yeah, and for 2.5 years, seeing it happen repeatedly and repeatedly is very troublesome. We do everything we can possibly do to stop a leak from occurring, and then at the last minute, it seems to happen more often than not.
The American ambassador told us, "I'm optimistic we're going to win this. The Bolivians are going to win this, and we're going to help." But nothing we saw in Bolivia supports that. Even when the DEA raids labs, even when they seize planes, even when they catch traffickers, the bottom line remains the same. They are not stopping the flow of cocaine from Bolivia to the United States. Despite the dedication of the men and women we met in Bolivia, American money is being wasted there. Until now, the U.S. government has been fooling itself and fooling us into believing it has a strategy that will work. And that is what we must hope President Clinton understands. If he does not do things differently, then any government campaign to purge this evil from American life is doomed to failure. The cocaine war in Bolivia is already lost. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
Peter Jennings reporting. Brought to you by the Discover Card.
When you receive your pre-approved Discover Card application, sign it.
Oh, thank you.
Because you can't earn cash back until you get it back.
Oh.
It pays to discover. Do your holiday shopping with the Discover Card, and you'll not only give, you'll receive a cashback bonus for every charge. It pays to discover.
Goodness!
You gotta be
From Maine to California.
You're kidding me.
People just like you.
You gotta be kidding.
Win thousands, win millions.
I just quit.
Out of the blue.
Yes!
Miracles can happen for you.
Holy cow!
Publishers Clearinghouse, the house where dreams come true.
Hi, I'm Regis Philbin. You know, I've been suffering with back pain for years. Then I discovered Aspirin. I just rub in Aspirin for hours of relief, right where I hurt. It relieves the pain fast, and it's odor-free. And Aspirin is aspirin-free.
Miss Barclay!
Conrad.
Room 801.
Once they were in love with butter, but cholesterol closed the door on their dreams until...
William.
May I serve you?
I can't believe it's not butter.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter is the first spread flavored with real sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol.
Now nothing can disturb our love.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, the taste you love without the cholesterol.
Denture wearers, here's Jane Powell for Polident.
Worried about denture odor? You'll love new Mintier Double Action Polident.
A new Mintier double action tablet that fights tough stains and controls denture odor. Try new double action Polident.
New Year's Day, the best is here. The excitement begins with the 104th Tournament of Roses Parade. Then our bowl game triple header gets rolling as Georgia meets Ohio State in the Florida Citrus Bowl. Followed by the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. Undefeated Michigan goes for revenge against Washington. And that night, it's the biggest game of the year. Number 1 Miami battles number 2 Alabama. 2 undefeated Giants go for the national championship in the USF&G Sugar Bowl. It's all New Year's Day on ABC Sports.
In 1 week, it's an hour of real TV. First,
don't scream. I don't want to have to kill you.
A female deputy sheriff is kidnapped by an escaped murderer.
I hate cops.
Then,
We're going to put male prostitutes, female prostitutes out of business.
We're desperate for money.
I never have sex with anybody.
American Detective after FBI in 1 week.
To order a videocassette version of Peter Jennings reporting The Cocaine War, Lost in Bolivia, use your Visa or MasterCard and call 1-800-ABC-7500. The cost is $19.98, plus $3.95 shipping and handling. If you wish to receive a transcript, send $7 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203.
This has been a special presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Okay, honey, it's 4 words.
Four
First
words?
word.
Oh, what first? Okay,
Earwood.
it's earwax.
Earwigs.
It sounds like.
sounds like wood. Should, could, good.
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 Cup
Good
of
coffee.
Good coffee.
Good